Hello?
Hello.
Hello, Jacob. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I'll just turn the sound up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Man, how long has it been? Like 2 years now?
Uh, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Um, I've just got to make some tea. Is that all right?
Oh, yeah, sure. Take your time. All right. Let me just do the quick little intro here. Thank you guys for joining us in this special edition of Gaming Grotto. I am Ezekiel Garcia, and today we have none other than a creator of Revenge of the Sunfish and also has, I believe, over 30 games in his current library. Jacob Buczynski is joining us right now from sunny Melbourne, Australia, assuming it's even sunny there right now.
Yeah,
Um,
it's sunny.
Oh, jeez. It's so. Let me just say right now, it's very strange for you to describe Australia sunny right now, especially. I mean, obviously, we have different time zones. So right now, it's just pitch black in Arizona right now. So it's kind of funny. But other than that, it's great to have you on the show. You do have quite a body of work, and obviously with Revenge of the Sunfish giving you a lot of I guess notoriety or recognition depending on how people look at it. And really, when you've made that game, I was looking at the description. I just wanted to go through your website,
Mm-hmm.
and I noticed that you mentioned that again you made that game year 12
Yeah.
around 2007. And the strange thing about the Sunfish was that I never really knew exactly when that game was released, because I never knew about it until a bunch of people, a lot of channels on YouTube were showcasing it on their channel.
Yeah.
Do you know? So, like, around what time was Revenge of the Sunfish released? Like, around what time?
I'm pretty sure it was released sometime in 2007. If you do I did a Google Trends search actually, and
Okay.
it sort of shows that searches for it sort of existed for a while. I think around 2007, 2008, and 2009. But then they really peaked, I think, in 2012 or 2013, something like
I
that.
believe it was 2013 when a lot of people started to recognize this game, because there was a lot of guys who were streaming it, especially in that sort of, especially on YouTube, where like their
Yeah,
sort of thing is just highlight just them in front of a camera and then just like playing either some scary, quote unquote scary game, or something out, something truly outlandish or whatever, so they could be like, oh no, this game is weird or whatever. um I actually decided, after seeing it, I decided to cave and actually play it because very unusual indie games are sort of my cup of tea. And when I finally got my hands on it, granted it was on a Windows 8, and one thing I noticed right off the bat was that how non-linear the gameplay was. And I wasn't really expecting that from a game that looked, rather, admittedly rather crude. But I didn't expect it to be so layered. And I honestly thought, it was kind of impressive for, a game that came out in 2007. And just, even if you do die, you ended up um, with,
something.
yeah, with something. You get some sort of result.
Yeah.
And another thing I wanted to, it was something I never really recognize until I reread your description on your website, was that there was something known as forgive me if I do the name wrong. Kimberly Kubis, I believe his name
Oh
was.
yeah, yeah.
It was a sort of manifesto that he created, but then it was something that along the lines of, you sort of may have misinterpreted it or something going on along those lines.
Oh
What was
yeah.
that all about?
Oh well, I sort of had my own interpretation of it, I guess. But oh yeah, on his website, he wrote this manifesto for how he wanted to create games, and I just remember it was really way out there, and it was. I thought it was cool. Uh, I think he was saying basically he wanted to he'd make games and he wasn't going to listen to anyone's criticism of them. Um, there was sort of a thing at that point on the like game maker communities where sort of he sort of had a competition, I think, where he liked to create controversy and piss people off. Like a lot of people were very polarized by Kimberly Kubis's games on the game maker forums and that around that time, and I sort of partook in that as well.
Oh, okay.
It's
So
kind of
really,
cool.
oh, because I mean, I'll be perfectly honest. I never really, even when I saw his memorial, which I must say right now, it's definitely tragic the way he went out that way. And I don't, and I mean, this may sound sort of a little embarrassing, but I never really got the exact date of when he passed. But from my understanding, it was an apparent suicide. Um, and it's and when I saw that, I never really knew much of his work, to be perfectly honest. I can only assume he kind of wanted to keep it that way. But then again, I don't really speak for him. So like Kimberly Kubis, like what exactly did he make? Did he make sort of the same principles as Sunfish, or was it just some sort of did he have any sort of following or anything like that, or what was this
Oh,
whole?
he had a following on the game maker forums, and he also there were also people who there are people now who are into his movies. He used to shoot films and publish them on his website, as well as his music. So he actually has quite a lot of fans. They're not really obvious, I guess. Like there's
Right,
no
yeah, because it's not exactly something that people it's not something that people can just easy to swallow, I guess. It's not like you can play something like Binding of Isaac or whatever, and everybody can jump on board for that.
Yeah,
Um,
it's kind of a
mhm,
bit more specialized, I guess. Like
yeah,
I've received emails from people uh, who wanted to get copies of his music and games and wanted me to help them out with that. So there's definitely a lot of people who like his stuff. I I liked his games quite a lot as well. They're not very accessible though. That's the thing. Like he made them really difficult and just really hard to figure out. Like they're really incomprehensible. Um, he suffered schizophrenia, I think, and so that's kind of part of it. I think his games sort of reflect his illness a lot, but they're quite personal, and I liked his art and stuff. He was cool.
because I mean, I do believe he was from Norway. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, he was from Norway.
Oh, okay. And when I looked at some of the games that he created, there was something that stood out. I think it was mostly because of the fact that he was from Norway, but I don't remember who made this game. It was a very short indie game,
Mm.
and maybe he had some sort of the person who created it had an influence on Kubis's work. I'm not sure, but it was a very dark and very just odd game. And it was named after a small town of Sweden,
Oh,
in
okay.
which you played as a hunter and you were going out into the woods or whatever. And it was a very disturbed game, to say the least, because it was a side scroller,
Mm.
and you had a rifle, and you just go across this small forest, and there's sort of like these weird little encounters at your face, like if a bear attacks you or whatnot, or if like a deer starts attacking you, then it may have been oh geez, I may screw his name, but Jonathan Soderbergh. I don't know. He's known as Cactus, I believe, the guy who made
Oh,
Hotline Miami.
yeah. Is that his game?
I believe so. There was a lot of aesthetics that this game has shared, but I could be wrong. And it's so long since I played it too, and I don't remember the name, to be perfectly honest, of this game. All I know is that it was named after a small Swedish town, and it was sort of a monochrome style to it.
Mm.
It looked very grindhouse, sort of like it had very grainy film, and it was such a dark and mysterious game. I mean, it was pretty vulgar at times. There may have been an instance of bestiality involved. Like that's
Uh,
how out there this game was.
okay.
Um,
Right.
so I mean, it was very strange. Not strange, but rather I did enjoy it a lot. And honestly, I feel like Revenge of the Sunfish kind of opened my eyes a little bit in terms of how games can be interpreted, but also how they're made, where it doesn't have to follow any guidelines at all. Just what I love about indie games and what I loved about most of your work is that it doesn't follow any rules, because when you make indie games, it feels like there are no rules to be followed. You could just make whatever. And, and I feel like with Sunfish, there's a lot of truth to that. And I mean, what I've always wanted to ask you was, like, do you feel that a lot of these very bizarre video games, indie games, do you feel like Sunfish has some sort of influence on those games, or is it just something that you think just happened on happenstance, or is it just something you just simply don't think about that often?
Whether Sunfish has influenced other developers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I know it's definitely influenced some developers, some indie developers. But, Sunfish was influenced by games before it as well. For instance, I was influenced by there was a PlayStation 1 game. I think it's also an arcade game called Tondemo Crisis, or Incredible Crisis.
I played that game before. It was like a
It's basically like a collection of mini games, but it has it's got a flowing storyline through it.
Right. It's like some strange Japanese family trying to go along with their day or something like that.
Yeah, that's the basic story. I kind of like the absurdity of that game, and
it was insanely hard too.
Yeah, it is. It is really hard.
Yeah. But oh man, I honestly wouldn't expect that. Because I have seen people play Incredible Crisis, and I have played it at one point. And it was like one of those games that my parents just got for me just because they just saw it or whatever. So it was just kind of a throwaway gift. And I remember I just played that, and I don't think I've ever beaten it. I don't think I've ever finished playing Incredible Crisis, but when you were saying, that this game, I can kind of see that, honestly. And one thing I wanted to mention when I played Sunfish, I'm not sure if you're aware of this. I'm pretty sure someone has brought it up. Was when I played Sunfish for the first time, it was on Windows 8, and I got to the last level, where you got to, Sunfish's castle. Yeah. And what started to happen, and I'm not sure. I believe people saying this was something that only happened on Windows 8, where as you're scrolling along, and every time I died, it would start looping the death sound over and over again. Every time it would just start freezing, and every time I would move, I would have to repeatedly tap the arrow keys to move.
Yeah, that's a bug. That's a major bug. I was actually considering a couple of months ago. I was thinking of re-releasing it, Sunfish 1, with a few new levels and some enhancements, primarily just to fix that bug, actually, because I was going to release a Sunfish 1 version 1.1, and I sort of worked on it for a couple of days, and then I stopped. But yeah, because I've never really addressed that problem with the original. It's a problem with sound drivers and stuff.
Oh, okay.
And the only real solution is to run it in compatibility mode for Windows 95 and disable all the other running processes that are happening. So it's pretty sensitive. It's a pretty sensitive game. I'm glad that so many people played it. But yeah, that's a bug.
It was just a simple bug, but you were aware of it. Like somebody did brought it up to you, right?
Yeah. I'm totally aware of that. I think I'm pretty sure I posted on the Sunfish page on my site that to stop that from happening, you should try and emulate it running in Windows 95.
I never really tried emulating Windows at all. I don't know why. It just never really interested me.
yeah, I haven't emulated Windows either.
Right.
I probably, I would though to play Eastern Mind. That's
Mhm.
one game I haven't been able to get working recently.
Oh, okay.
Have you seen Eastern Mind?
Yes, I have. And yeah, I have seen a lot of this. And I actually did a attempt to boot it up on DOSBox, but the problem is I'm horrible with DOSBox. I cannot manage that a program to save my life. The only thing I managed to do was set up Daggerfall. It was an Elder Scrolls game, and that was it.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
so, but I am aware of Eastern Mind. So,
I don't. I haven't been able to get it to run on DOSBox
hmm
either because I think it's. I'm pretty sure it's a Windows program, and it uses like a really old version of the Apple video player. I forget
oh,
what
okay.
it's called. Like
QuickTime.
yeah, like
hmm
QuickTime. Yeah.
hmm
But I played it on my older computer like last
Okay.
year, and I was really impressed with that game. I thought it was one of
Yeah.
the best point and click games I played in a while. I really
hmm
like that one.
Right.
That was
Um.
pretty cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, I look at it and I mean, I really want to play it. It just seems so out there, especially when a game that was released in 1995.
Yeah,
And really, what I loved about it most was easily the soundtrack to that
yeah.
game. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's got
loved it. So, yeah. And
yeah.
in case for the people listening, in case you don't know what Eastern Mind is, um, basically it is from what the best way I could describe it. It's practically a journey to insanity, pretty much. It's a point and click adventure in which there is pretty much no real guidance whatsoever. You just kind of click and you just hope for the best. If you guys can, I recommend you try to boot it up. I'm pretty sure there's people out there who have better luck than I do in terms of running DOSBox. But um, another thing I wanted to mention too was when you make a lot of the soundtracks, a lot of the music for your games, I understand that you pretty much make most of your music yourself. I mean, a lot of other people like to do that.
Well, I'm pretty big on that now. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, what exactly is your process when you make songs? Like, what kind of programs do you use, or, is it just something that you just make up on the top of your head, or, like, what exactly goes on?
Well, sometimes I get tunes like original tunes come into my head, but usually actually that's when I'm going to sleep. So it's not a very good time to compose. But I just tend to. I've got two methods for making music actually, and one of them I don't really. One of the methods I don't actually think about. I don't listen to the song very much actually. I type some notes and then I pitch shift them in groups of 2 and 6 and 8, and I pitch shift them sort of around uh, like 6 notes up or down, kind of randomly, and I just copy and paste tracks and try and stick with sort of these certain numbers like 6, 4, and 12 because I think, and then I listen to whatever comes out a few times, and then I shift the tracks a couple of times to try and make it sound more less discordant, and I do that as a MIDI file in
Oh,
Anvil.
I've
Yeah,
noticed that
yeah, in
with a lot of
Anvil
your
Studio.
songs. Hmm
But but then I export the MIDI and I load it up using a mod tracker program, and then I change the instruments to some. I've been ripping instruments out of a whole heap of games, like just specific notes, like a lot of SNES games and
Yeah, I noticed
stuff
that
like that.
too. Especially
Uh,
with when I was playing Crunge. I
oh
was
yeah,
playing that earlier today.
oh
It's
really?
a very fun game, I must say. Although there are times where are very frustrating. I'm pretty sure Josh can attest to the fact that I was basically screaming at my phone at one point. And what I love so much about that game was just the fact that a lot of the games do sound like it was coming straight out of a Super Nintendo. And add to the fact that every time you die, it's just a blood curdling Wilhelm scream as your character just bounces around. Um, but like I mean, with Crunge, like it just felt like you were playing a Super Nintendo game, and it was
Yeah, it
just
is.
yeah. So, and I feel like it kind of shows how far you've come since Revenge of the Sunfish. What I loved most about it was just the fact that the animations were so fluid, especially when you were just jumping around and stuff, and every time you win a level, your little guy's eyes start bulging out of his head, and it just looked, and I loved how it was just so fluid.
Yeah.
Um,
Thanks. I think yeah, the animation's relatively fluid in that game. That game's basically I mean it's kind of a clone of
Buster
like
Brothers.
yeah, Buster Brothers or
Hmm.
Hang.
Hmm.
Um which I thought that would be an easy game to play on a phone because with phones the control scheme it's hard to control and since that's a game that doesn't require very many buttons, so that's why I wanted to do it as a phone game. But I think it's fun, and I'm pleased with it. But in ways, I think it's actually sort of a step backwards from Sunfish because it's not non-linear, and it just doesn't have the same amount of craziness. But you see, my motivation for doing that was partially because I've been doing like phone apps for a little while. I sort of wanted to see if I could make some money out of that. But
Right.
since
And has it been profitable at all?
I no, I wouldn't say so. I mean, yeah, it's very competitive to
Oh yeah, it definitely is.
the phone app industry is really competitive and really crazy. And actually, that's something I would like to talk about, perhaps. Like, yeah, I think a lot of the games. When I entered into sort of doing phone apps, I think I was quite naive about the industry basically and making profit off it. Like I thought, if I just do enough games, like then whatever strategy I have, it should generate some revenue, and it's sort of like that, but um, it's kind of not like the phone app companies that really make money. They're basically profiting on people who have addictions, basically,
Right.
and it's there's an industry term for it. It's called the people who are called whales, and they're basically the users that will spend money on a phone app. And because the way it works is 99% of people that use phone apps don't spend any money on them, and all the revenue comes from like this 1%. Well, I'm talking about in-game purchases. Like with advertising, it's sort of a different model, but it kind of sucks as well. Like with the apps making money from advertising, it's all about they're tying the advertising into the games now. So like if you look at an ad or something, you'll get some kind of reward, and like that's the new thing. And I just really don't. I really don't want to go down that path, and I've just decided I just want to go back to doing PC games and fun games like Revenge of the Sunfish that are, non-linear and expressive and cool and that. I've got about like 10 phone apps that are sort of halfway through uh, production and better than like technically better than the other things that I've released, but I sort of feel like
So you're saying you're making a game that's better than Kitty Punch? Is that what you're saying?
uh, yeah, well, yeah, Kitty Punch was really just it was something I made sort of in an afternoon, and I wasn't even going to release it. And my housemates at the time said, "Oh, you should totally release this as a phone app." Actually, the thing with Kitty Punch is it's not since it wasn't designed with the intention of it being a phone app. It's not optimized for phones, so it runs pretty slowly.
Yeah, I
But
kind of noticed that because when I was like it wasn't really responsive either.
yeah,
Because when I would tap my screen, it would just take a while. So I kind of like timed it a lot better, and then yeah.
well,
I mean, it was a kind of it was still a neat concept though, but it's
yeah, well, it was one
kind of
of the early phone apps that I did, and I sort of learned how to do them better and technically better ways, so that but even so, I don't think it's worth it because phone apps. like they're not really something that I personally enjoy playing. I mean, maybe they're fun if you're like waiting for a bus or something. Like that's the ideal time to play. But like there's enough phone apps to fill that gap. And if I want to play a serious like cool game, I'd be playing like a PC game or at least some sort of like a console or something.
So, like, since you mentioned, console games stuff, have you ever, like, try to catch up with what's recently been going on, like, in terms of, like, what games are being played right now or anything like that? Because you did mention you either play, like, PC or console. Do you usually just play PC games, or do you actually, like, mix it around a bit?
I don't play console games very often unless I see I visit someone who's got a console or if it's a console game that's been ported to PC. Um, I've been playing some like console games that are out of date by like 6 years on emulators and stuff like PlayStation 1 and 2 and stuff like that.
Wait, have you actually managed to make a, not make, but rather get a PS2 emulator to run on your PC?
Well, actually, yeah, that's a lie. I haven't played. I've got a PS2 emulator that supposedly works, and I was gonna check out Silent Hill 3, but I haven't checked it out. I've just been playing PS1 games lately, and they work great. Like,
Oh, okay, because I mean I've tried to play PS2 emulators, and I kind of got excited there when you said you played PS2 emulation on your PC, because no matter what you do, it seems, no matter where I go, no matter who I meet up with who's trying to play PS2 games on the PC, it just seems like it's an impossible endeavor to overcome.
oh, really? I never
Yeah.
got that. I never got that impression. I haven't seriously tried, but I thought it would be possible because, like, the PS2 games, there's plenty of them are ported to PC, and I don't think the system would be that difficult to emulate. But I'm a bit naive about that. Maybe it is harder than I thought.
Yeah, well, at first it does seem that you are able to make the game to you can make the game able to run.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest example that I tried to do was Twisted Metal Black. I tried to get
Uh-huh.
that game to run, and then just as when I'm about to get it started, everything seems to be running perfectly. But when the actual gameplay starts going, it's very, very slow. Like the frame rate just
Uh,
drops to a crawl, down to single digits. I remember, and
that
it just becomes unpleasant to play. So,
Yeah,
that's yeah.
yeah, you don't want to play something if the frame rate's slow.
Right, exactly. I believe the highest it's ever been was 12 frames per second, and I believe Twisted Metal Black was a full 60 when you actually get the game booting. So yeah, so really what I opted to do instead was just get my PS2 back up and running because I didn't feel like it was worth it. So I actually got my physical PS2 and I got Twisted Metal Black at basically what amounts to a record store pretty much. So that's pretty much how I got to play that game, and I always found that game to be a classic. So I just really wanted to play that. But one thing I did want to bring up as also when we were talking about Sunfish was the fact that since I understand that I mentioned earlier that all these guys who basically make money on YouTube yelling in front of a face cam brought your game up to light. And have you ever felt that maybe whenever somebody brings up that game or like starts playing it on YouTube, has that ever really affected the way you make games, or is it just still something that you just feel, something that you just don't want to change? You want to continue doing your own thing.
Oh yeah, it has actually. Well, I haven't watched very many playthroughs, but when I do see people playing my games, I like to see how they approach tasks and things, and sometimes it surprises me what people do. Like for example, I was showing a demo of Sunfish 2 at this Rezzed festival in the UK, and a lot of people there's what looks like a split path, but actually it's not a split path. People are supposed to go like in a different direction. But a lot of people sort of seem to think that this area they all walked in the same area because they thought there was something there, and I thought, well, if they feel like there should be something there, I should put something there because it'll make it more interesting. So I decided to put a path there to make it more interesting. And yeah, just little things like that, like watching people play through my games. It does give me ideas of how to improve them because you can't. If you're a designer and you're playing your own games, you don't have an objective perspective because you've seen it so many times and you're just so involved that I've actually got this method for playing my own games for testing them. I think you've basically got to cross your hands and sort of cross your eyes and not even look at the screen and try and play the game like that. And then if you get stuck, if you can't play the game properly like that, then it's not good enough. Because a lot of games, I think the difficulty curve is just too much for people who aren't gamers, and that puts them off from playing them. So, because if you get someone who just doesn't play games to play a game, it's interesting to see how they play it and how badly they do it. So
right.
yeah,
There's actually I'm not sure if you're aware of Dark Souls at all.
Oh yeah. I actually, that's probably one of the most modern games that I've recently played. But I actually, I didn't think it was that great.
Oh really?
Yeah. Well, it's just I found it too hard. Like I kept dying on this one spot, and I was like, I feel stuck at this point. You know?
Could you do your best to describe what spot you were exactly?
Well, I did progress from that point. I think it was Dark Souls 1, I'm pretty sure, and I was stuck on the first boss for a while. I think I got past that, and then I think sort of like the second stage, you start off in a graveyard, and I just kept dying on these skeletons.
Oh, okay.
You know?
That's actually I could tell you right now, in a sense, that's sort of a rookie trap. Because, and this is a little pro tip for people who are listening and never played Dark Souls before. The way it works is that the skeletons, even if you do kill them, they just keep coming back.
Yeah.
And the only reason that happens is because you need a holy weapon to permanently kill them. And really, the reason I call it such a rookie trap is basically you're never gonna know that. Because everyone assumes skeletons are just easy enemies, but when you actually face these skeletons, then it just becomes way more difficult because you actually have that monkey wrench thrown in which you have to have a holy weapon to only permanently kill them. Because there's a level in that in which it's nothing but skeletons, and if you don't have a holy weapon, then you're screwed. But
yeah, I think I ran past the skeletons in the graveyard and went into some cave, and then the cave is just full of skeletons. But yeah, I thought, well, there should have. I feel like there should have been some indication that that's not what you were supposed to do. Like for me, I just thought I want to go in that direction, so I should be able to. And yeah, that kind of bummed me out about that.
Yeah,
game.
well, really, the whole name of the game in Dark Souls is just that it's about open exploration. So it doesn't like to tell you exactly where you have to go. It kind of just lets you go on your merry way and just let you figure it out on your own. But something I got to ask right now, because you did bring this up, what is the current status on Sunfish 2?
Well, it's kind of got sidetracked a few times, and yeah, I'm just working on it really slowly, basically. I'll finish it eventually. It's just taking ages. I massively I really overpromised when I took it around to some festivals and stuff. Like I said that I could finish it in like 6 months' time, but I don't think I accurately assessed like how much work was actually involved. Like I made it really hard for myself because the game was super ambitious, and I was like, I've really got to top the first one, so it's got to have all this stuff and this and this. But the reality of actually getting all that stuff done, it takes freaking ages, and yeah.
Yeah, especially because I mean I do remember when you first announced it. It was
Yeah.
there was a lot of things going on, and I actually understand. You know, you wanted to put as many levels as you possibly could,
Yeah.
and I also remember that there was like a laundry list of songs you wanted to put in as well.
Well, I did do the, I have done the songs thing because, with the first Sunfish, and it probably helped it get popular actually, but something I'm not particularly happy with. It actually used, a lot of MIDIs that I didn't compose from like Mega Man and Castlevania and stuff. So with the sequel, I wanted it to be all original music, and I had this sort of crazy goal early on. I wanted it to have 1,000 songs in it.
I
Um,
do remember that. Yeah.
and I have actually done that. That's something that I've completed and added to it. So it's got 1,000 songs. But that took, yeah, that took me ages. I think that took me about a year just to do that. But then the other thing that the next thing I'm sort of working on is giving it, putting in a save feature. That's another thing that's going to take me probably like months and months and months. I mean, in order for the save feature to do anything meaningful, it's got to save data on every single level. And since it's got hundreds of levels, it's just like a
Yeah.
nightmare. So
Oh, okay. That's understandable.
I'm confident. It's gonna be finished and it'll be awesome. But yeah,
Right.
it's taking ages.
Yeah, I mean it's understandable because you know, I was very excited for it at first, especially since how massive it was going to be,
Yeah.
and I don't think anyone will fault you for this game taking so long, especially considering that you know you did manage to complete over 1,000 songs, and it's so funny because when you mentioned the whole midis of Castlevania, that was like I believe that was basically the first song you heard when you opened the first level, and when you hit the no, it wasn't when you hit the. I believe it was when you hit the lever and you just go down the hole. I'm not sure if that was the one or the part where it asks you the question if you or it asks you that when you had that multiple choice questions.
No, I think it was playing Gradius 3 with the multiple choice questions. And I
Oh
think,
yeah, that's
uh,
yeah, you were
yeah,
right.
it's Castlevania with the lever that some people have said looks like a dildo.
Oh Jesus. Oh,
Well, I mean,
I
it kind of does. But,
right. Well, I mean, needless to say, I always thought it was just absolutely. I mean, I remember the first time I played it, I laughed pretty hard when I decided I want to play chess, and then you just see just a bloody scene on the chessboard, and then and then it's just like I forgot what it. Oh my god, what did it say? What was the next screen that followed after that picture? Oh,
um,
it said like "feel happy now" or something like that.
yeah, I think something like that actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then like after that, it was just you were just on your way to just madness, and I just loved every second of it. And really, I really do sincerely hope that Sunfish 2 does get finished. And
Mm.
I gotta ask, why Sunfish?
Oh, as a game topic, like
No,
why?
just why Sunfish as the in terms of the animal choice.
Well, sunfish are they're just really weird. Like
Yeah.
if you've ever seen I've never. I think I did see one. I saw one at in Tasmania at the like shipping wharf once. Someone caught a sunfish, and it just looked so freaking weird because they don't have a tail, so they just look like a giant fish head. And I'm pretty sure they're classified as plankton because they don't actually because they swim so poorly. I think they're like the world's largest plankton, basically. It- yeah, I'm pretty sure they're classified as plankton because I think the classification of plankton is a type of sea animal that needs to go along with currents basically and can't swim properly. I could be getting this wrong, but I'm sure sunfish are plankton.
Hmm.
Uh,
And so basically, Sunfish, the second they're in the water, they're screwed.
well, they're always in the water. Well, yeah, they're pretty much screwed, I think. Anyway,
Yeah, so like
Like,
they're just struggling to flap or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't get the impression that they're particularly capable
yeah.
as sea creatures.
Right.
There, there's this picture of a seal taking a bite out of a sunfish.
Oh,
Kind of cool.
oh. Because I mean, like, why not a rainbow fish? Why not? I guess what would be another weird animal? Angler.
Well,
Why not platypus?
mm, yeah, well, yeah, there are other fish, but I mean, sunfish are just pretty awesome in terms of weird animals. I mean,
And didn't you describe them as demonic on your page?
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I mean, I could kind of see that, to be honest. It's it's kind of I guess it was just so funny how of all the animals, sunfish were picked as the great menace that is threatening our world. But honestly, other than that, how's Australia been so far since we last met?
Yeah, Australia is Australia, I guess.
Oh,
It's pretty hot.
right. Like how hot is it right now?
Uh, I could be wrong. I think it's maybe 29, 30 degrees. But I I was sort of living in a shed, and that wasn't good for the hot weather, I must say. And yeah, I moved in with my girlfriend now, and we've got some air conditioning, so that actually helps. I've never had that before, and it's like, yeah, it
Oh,
really helps
geez.
with the weather.
What about during like the peak of the winter? Like, has it got any warmer, any colder or anything like that? Or
Yeah, it gets colder in winter, but sort of like the peak of winter, that would be my ideal summertime, I think. It's still sunny in winter. Yeah.
right? Yeah. I mean, I could tell you right now in Arizona, during December and January, it was actually pretty miserable out here in terms of how cold it was.
Yeah.
To the point where it was actually hotter in our area than it was in the East Coast. And traditionally, the East Coast is always colder, where basically it was just nothing but the snowstorms and the like. But here it was just frost everywhere. You had to wear a jacket pretty much almost constantly because it was so chilly. The breeze was like it gets into your skin practically.
Mm,
And Arizona is considered to be the hottest state in the United States, so it was kind of like a freak show going on in terms of the
right.
weather.
Right.
But you remember something about kangaroo jerky or something like that you meant, or sausage, I believe.
Yeah,
It was sausage, or
I still eat a lot of kangaroo. I actually had kangaroo sausages for breakfast this
oh,
morning.
oh, is
So
that
yeah,
expensive?
that hasn't changed. Are they expensive?
Yeah, like because for some reason they do sound expensive.
No, no, it's cheap. They used to be the cheapest meat. They've gone up in it's gone up in price over the last couple of years, but it used to be really cheap because they don't farm the kangaroos, to my knowledge. It's just a few people go out in the bush and just shoot some of them and take that into an abattoir, and that's basically the kangaroo meat. So.
Oh, okay. And in terms of like the censorship laws in Australia, did they even ship out Grand Theft Auto when it was first released? Or
I don't know. I Most of my friends had GTA and GTA Vice City and stuff like that, but yeah, I don't know too much about the censorship laws. I know that I think Postal 2 was banned.
yes, it was. I think it was also banned in England and Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Grand Theft Auto 5. Which is why I asked because I'm pretty sure you know by now that Australia is like considered to be like a cesspool of censorship there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, I hear pretty much every M-rated game that goes through Australia, it's like there's always some sort of controversy. I do understand. It may have been Grand Theft Auto 5, where there was, I believe, I don't know if you guys. The reason why I'm kind of reluctant to say this because I'm not sure if you guys have Targets and WalMarts in Melbourne, but
We don't have Walmart.
uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure we've got Target.
Oh, okay. But from what I understood, a lot of targets in Australia weren't even didn't even carry Grand Theft Auto, or I don't even think they carried Assassin's Creed either. And there was like this whole thing going on, and I do know for a fact that South Park's game, Stick of Truth, there was actually a scene in which they actually in the Australian ports. They actually censored it out and they made like a whole joke out of it, where it basically apologized to people of Australia because they can't see this scene or whatever. So
yeah, that's interesting.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I've always kind of like bring it up because I know it's like not exactly the most open ended there, but other than that, I sincerely hope Sunfish 2 gets released soon enough. Not to rush you or anything like that. I'm fairly confident that, it's going to be the game because really, if anything, if there's anything that should make you feel better is that it's still your game. Like you're not being rushed to make it at all. So pretty much for all intents and purposes, you have all the time in the world still to finish this game and release it. And I guess the last question before we part ways is are you still planning on selling this game like for money?
Yeah, probably. I was sort of considering just releasing it, but I like the idea of releasing it on CDs maybe. So if people would, or USB sticks maybe. So if people would cover the cost of whatever portable media it costs for me to print it on, then I'd just send them a copy maybe.
Oh, okay. Didn't you say you were planning on releasing it on Steam?
Yeah, well, I thought about that. I don't have much experience using Steam though, and I don't know how difficult it would be to get it on Steam. I've spoken to a couple of other developers who have had Steam releases, and they reckon that I could get it, but I don't know. Like I just don't know how much I care about
Steam and whatnot.
Would it have? I guess would it have a bigger audience? Maybe.
Definitely, it definitely would, because I'm not sure if you know about this. I'm pretty sure you do, but Steam is it's pretty much the only way people get games on PC. And I know they have this program called Greenlight.
Yeah.
It's kind of notorious for just basically just letting whatever. Like it could easily be the most incompetent game ever made, and it could still manage to be on Steam. Like probably the most notorious was one game called Bad Rats, I believe. And it's considered to be like the worst game to be on Steam, and it's like you can get it for like $3.
Okay, Bad Rats. I think I've heard of Bad Rats.
It's like it's like a puzzle game.
Okay, I haven't seen it, but I think I did. I think I heard maybe a different podcast talking about it on Steam specifically being pretty bad.
But yeah, if anything, just try to. My advice to you is, just try to, see what you can do about getting it on Steam, because I'm pretty sure a lot of the people who follow you would be very pleased with that.
All right, yeah. Maybe I will try and put it on Steam. I guess it just hasn't been something that seems like that important to me. Like I've just my priority is just getting it finished, and then I'll sort of look for a way to distribute it. So yeah. But yeah, I think it's coming along pretty cool. I've actually over the last couple of years, I've made a few new sort of developments and things. Like I've developed a new animation style it's full screen, and it has a very distinctive look about it. It sort of looks like animation done in sand, but and I'm using that in Sunfish for a couple of cutscenes.
Oh, okay.
Pretty cool. So.
All right, perfect. Well, in that case, it's been great talking to you once again, Jacob. This was definitely, something that we were excited about since basically this week when Josh told me that you were more than happy to do this interview. So once again, I like to thank you so much for taking the time, and best of luck to you in getting Sunfish 2 done. just do what you can to survive out there in Australia, I suppose. Other than that, once again, thank you so much. And this has been Gaming Grotto, ladies and gentlemen, with Jacob Buczynski. Be sure to check out the Google Play Store. There is Crunge, Kitty Punch, and even Skylance as well. And if you haven't checked it out yet, be sure to check out Revenge of the Sunfish on revengeofthesunfish.com. There is a link in which you can, there is a page where you can download Revenge of the Sunfish, try it out yourself. And once again, Jacob, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, nice talking to you. It's been a pleasure to be on your podcast.
All right, yeah, and hopefully someday, we'll catch up once more. I'm not sure when. We're trying to grow here, so any little help counts, and hopefully we'll be able to talk to you soon. All right.
Yeah, cool. Good luck with the website, and
all right,
I hope your podcast keeps going.
All right, and hopefully Sunfish 2, pretty much becomes the game that we all hope for. So we're rooting for you. All right.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
All right, not a problem, man. Well, take care now. All right.
Yeah, you too.
All right.
See ya.
All right, see you later, man.
Bye.
Bye.